Hello and welcome back. It is I, Sylvia Hartmann, the creator of Modern Energy. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here tonight with Hannah Bradley, who is a fabulous person and a modern energist and so many other things beside. Welcome, Kim. Oh, Hannah. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you so much for having me, Sylvia. It's really lovely to have the opportunity to share some time together.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I can already sense this is going to be fun. Okay. The best way to start, how did you come to be here with me tonight on this show?
So, I have had a bit of a fun journey with modern energy. So, I am very grateful to have had a very spiritual upbringing. Both my mum and her mum are or were very strong spiritual women. And of course, we have to choose whether we're going to take that for ourselves or not. But when mum started getting involved with modern energy in my kind of 14, 15 age, when I was in my GCSEs, I loved it and I quickly took to it. I started training for myself with my mum as my trainer. And by 17, I was fully qualified. I was speaking at our lovely emo trance at the time conferences and kind of left that behind for a few years after falling into the.
I remember a conference where you got your EMO practitioner certificate, and you were the youngest person ever to get one.
Yes, at the time I certainly was. Yes.
And at that conference, there was also this gentleman priest who was the oldest person at 97 to ever get the Emotrans practitioner certificate. And I just this really stands out in my mind. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just had to put that in. So yeah, that's
It was
awesome.
a special occasion
It
and
was.
it's nice to remember it because it's having had energy therapies in my life for many years, it can be easy to take for granted just how
Yes.
transformational they are because they've always been there, it feels like.
Yeah.
Um, but after a while, I kind of fell into yes, but you go to university and then you get a job and you build a career, like normal people do, this idea that that's what's expected. So
Yeah.
that's where I found myself and I got a job. I started building a career. And now I appreciate that for a number of years, I was so totally out of alignment, as was necessary for me to experience, to be able to appreciate actually who I really am and what impact I want to be, what place I want to have in the world. I was part of a religious cult for about 6 or 7 years.
Oh,
It's been a whole thing.
wow.
But
What was the religious cult?
so it was the Jehovah's Witnesses,
Oh,
which not
wow.
everybody knows a huge amount of because they're very closeted, as
Yeah.
many cults tend to be. And again, it was so far removed from my upbringing, if you like, that it really feels like my whole energy being need a bit of a slap in the face to say this is what wrong alignment looks like for you. So
Yeah.
now you know who you really are and who you want to be. And that is what has ignited my passion to help other people to really love and understand themselves and see how that in turn changes your life.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because, like, I'm really, really old, and it's super nice to have somebody who is the next generation who can speak to the next generation. Because a lot of younger people obviously won't take any notice of an old lady, which is a mistake because I am a Jedi, and the older they get, the more powerful they become. So, but this is not known amongst the younglings of today. And something that I picked up is the hair thing. We need to talk about the hair thing. That's going to be in the title as well. Self concept and self esteem for women.
Yes, because for me, that represents freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to have, freedom to be, freedom to create, freedom to vibrate. It just
Freedom to
gives
stop
opens
worrying constantly and living in a nightmare world of paranoia. Oh, what the neighbors think and what people saying on Twitter and on Facebook, and oh God, yeah,
exactly.
finding like a steady center in yourself from which you can operate. I think.
Exactly. because
is what.
everything else in our life depends on our relationship with ourselves.
Yes.
Your life will reflect the quality of your relationship with yourself. So if you don't start with yourself, you're already missing the most important factor.
Yes, and I mean we also have the modern energy chart, right? With stress, from stress to success. And I should think everybody who watches this will know what I'm talking about. So when you are stressed, you lose yourself more and more and more. And this losing process, losing yourself, is so stressful. And this can enter into a crazy spiral. Well, I want to talk about the hair because this is super funny. Because I'm of the female persuasion and always have been. And so when I was young, and even when I was your age, I was obsessed about my hair. I mean, obsessing about it. Hated it. Absolutely fucking hated it. Absolutely just, God. I mean, my major dating time early as a young person was in the 1970s and 80s, where the big hair was the thing. And my hair is hyper flat. I mean, hyper flat. I kid you not, it's hyper flat. Hairdressers used to pull their hair out because they do a perm, the strongest perm they had, and they would brush it and it would go flump, wouldn't stick, wouldn't hold. It's like it was like, I'm flat here. I'm not going to allow you to do anything other than that. And so that was for me terrible thing. And what is funny is that you've had the opposite, right?
Exactly. So, likewise, as a child, I also hated my hair. And I think the thing is, there was just no education about hair to me at a young age available. I didn't grow up in a culture of people with curly hair where important knowledge might be passed down and it does become an important part of who you are and your culture that you're brought up in. When you have hair that's on the wavy end of the spectrum, it's very easy for your texture to be missed or just dismissed as frizz. And so my hair education was you shampoo it, you condition it, you brush it, and here's how you put it in a ponytail. The end. And
Yes.
I've since come to appreciate that is not the ideal routine for my hair. And because of that, it didn't look good. It was because it wasn't taken care of in the way that it should have been. So when I picked up a pair of hair straighteners for the first time in my kind of early teens, which is a very transformational age anyway, and where there is a lot of pressure on young girls to look a certain way to
Yeah.
fit in, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
straighteners for me were the best thing since sliced bread because they controlled the frizz, they made my hair straight, it was predictable, it looked like everybody else, it meant I didn't stand out. And as a child who'd been bullied for many years, not directly because of my hair, but it meant that was one less thing for people to kind of pick me up on. So I straightened it for about 15 years in the end, before I started looking into how to care for it naturally, which was such a transformational experience because at the time I was very severely depressed. I'd recently made an attempt on my own life.
Oh
I
dear.
was so very low at that time. And so hair kind of entered my world at this point, and the looking after myself, recognizing that I was so worth investing time in, that there were things to love about me, I needed that at that time. So I started looking at how do I actually style my hair, not heat, not chemicals, how do I look after my own
Right.
body.
How is your hair meant to be by the great creative order, really? I mean,
Exactly.
God gave you that particular type of hair. Now, how are you supposed to honor that, treasure that, figure out what it's really meant to be when it's being treated properly?
Exactly. And I felt like, treating my hair properly, putting care and attention into my hair was an extension of treating myself properly.
Yes.
As my hair grew, as its health grew, as its vitality grew, I grew as a person. My hair took on more personality. It reflected my personality. And I am naturally very curvaceous, and my hair is now curvy, and everything about it is so authentically me. It is who I was meant to be. And
Yeah.
like a tailored suit, it fits me better than anything else ever could have. And as a result of that change, inevitably other aspects of my life started to really change and transform. And I honestly can say that my hair journey, everything else that has happened in my life since wouldn't have happened, or wouldn't have happened at the same time as it did, were it not for going on my journey with my hair.
Yeah, a lot. There may be people listening to this and thinking, "Oh, how stupid hair," but it's not for young women and children and girls. It really isn't. It's a huge, it's a big thing. And
It should be a big thing for everyone. If you say, "Oh, how stupid hair," then you're basically saying, "Oh, how stupid myself," because your hair is a part of you. So there seems to be this idea that if you don't care about your appearance, that that's a good thing, but you're devaluing a huge aspect of yourself.
well, I mean, this is also sort of traditional gender related in many ways. Is this hair thing? But today, I think I had it bad back in the day, but I don't. There was no Twitter, there was no Instagram, there was no social media, there was no social media bullying. There was no photo filters, there was no weirdness of that kind at all, and I really still had a hard time. So my heart goes out to the young, the young ones, the younglings, what they actually have to deal with. And you help people with self-esteem things now.
Definitely. Having been able to experience how much it changed my life, not just my hair, but every other avenue of my life since, the paths that I've taken, because investing time and attention to myself gave me the confidence and all the lovely positive things that I needed to be able to make those commitments. I just think more people need to know this. And then,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly, along that journey, modern energy made its way back into my life at just the perfect moment, not long after I started my new business. And
Oh,
I
tell,
was
tell us about your new business. This I would love to hear about.
So back in the summer, as a result of my refreshed confidence and becoming who I really am meant to be, finding my purpose, I left my job and moved to a different job, which was in theory an upgrade, if you like. And I hated it. I hated everything about it. And it really started to send my mental health spiraling down again. My physical health was suffering. And this time I was better able to recognize the signs. And so I thought, no, okay, let's stop that. Nothing is worth my health. So I left that job without another job to go to. And that really gave me the freedom of mind to be able to think, well, what do I actually want to do?
Now,
Who
this
do
is
I
a
actually
really,
want to be?
this really is the most important question that not enough people ever stop to ask or feel that they can ask because they feel that what's the point? I'm not in a position to make anything happen or I have no power over this. So I won't even, say what it is that I need and I want. And that really is what is it that I want to do with my life at this point.
Absolutely.
Not forever necessarily, but just right now, what is it what I really need and want to do? Because that then gives you this again, this baseline of something to build from. But please do continue. I've got
Exactly.
overexcited
So
here.
it finally put me in a position to be able to ask those questions. What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? What impact do I want to have in the world? What
Yeah,
do I want to have? What do I want to
right.
experience? All of these things. And so it was a very relaxed conversation on the sofa with my mum one day where she said, have you thought about doing hair as a business? Because by this time I'd been through my own journey of transformation. I was giving out free advice to friends and family, as we do when we found something we're passionate about. And I thought, well, people aren't really doing that. Is that a thing? There wasn't really a model to be able to follow, but I am very kinesthetic. I love to just do and just go. So I
Yeah,
thought, well, what the hell? Let's just do. So I just did and started a business, made all of my training materials and everything, and kind of went out there initially thinking I was going to help people to embrace their natural hair. Perhaps maybe they experienced, like myself, straightening for many years and they wanted to put that down, or they've always had curly hair and they just didn't understand it and they wanted to take the time to understand that part of themselves. So that was what I thought at the beginning. That soon after getting the hands-on experience transformed itself into thinking, no, actually, I kind of want to help people with all hair types. I want to help people
Yeah,
emotionally
funnier
with things like
people.
hair loss, or yeah, exactly.
Or going
I just want
grey.
people to love themselves, going grey, exactly.
That can be such a drama for some people. You
Definitely,
know, oh my
and for
gosh,
men especially, this idea of going grey, of male pattern
losing
baldness
hair.
coming in, this
Yeah,
idea of losing your masculinity. Are
yeah,
the young boys going to come in and start taking my position and things like that? It's huge for all genders, all ages. It does have an impact,
it does.
and so that was kind of what I transitioned into was hair coaching,
Hair
and then
coaching. How
yeah, that was
interesting.
my title, hair coaching. So I was helping people with the practical, and then the emotional side came in when I retrained in my modern energy qualifications. So my mum at this time had also, funny enough, had a calling back to her spiritual roots to reconnect with modern energy. And so she's picked up her training qualifications, renewed all her professional qualifications, and set, as she always has done in my life, a wonderful example of following your path and being your authentic self. So I
Yeah.
thought, oh, mum's doing this again. And I remember that now. I really enjoyed that actually. And that's what kind of lit the spark of thinking, at this time I was still in this cult. I only left that in January this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, all hot off the press news here today. So
You know, that would make another fascinating interview, wouldn't it?
I know, my life full of stories, as we all are. So I left that cult partly because mum had started bringing modern energy back into the household, as it were. And
Interesting.
I'd started to feel my own push to change and shift. And rather than fight against that on this occasion, I thought, well, what do I want to be? And so I had my business. I moved back into modern energy, which has complemented my business so perfectly. And I'm going through another evolution now because we are always evolving
We are
to
indeed.
think actually, yes, hair is an aspect of what I do and it is incredibly important, but I just want people to understand how utterly important they are to this planet. That every single person has something so incredibly beautiful and unique and special and valuable to add.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that and know that so wholeheartedly about yourself and not doubt that
Yeah.
before you can create anything else that you want. So
Yeah, the modern wisdom holds that human beings are a scourge on the planet, that we're a bunch of cockroaches. And we are not. Nothing could be further from the truth. But all these things undermine our personal power and our ability to live as a real human being in this astonishing universe and have lives that have meaning, that have star events, and we can help each other so much. And I think that one of the things that you said was that we manifest ourselves by helping other people. That is the way to empower ourselves, really, above all else. And so, what you are doing with people and the younger generation at that is that, isn't it? Is that manifesting yourself by helping other people?
definitely. I really feel like all of the events in my life up to this point and all of the various misalignment as a result has been the forming the foundation for who I am now and who I and all the exciting things yet to come, because I really do believe that I needed that shock to the system of just what misalignment really feels like, to know what it is like to be so off your path, to then be able to help others who may be off their path to be able to really understand themselves and who they want to be. And also it's a reminder, as part of the modern energy work, we are reminded that we need to be in the right place before we can help someone else, because it's not fair to try and give support if we are not in a good place. And so again, it's the reminder that you have to start with yourself. Like on a
Oh yeah,
plane, if a plane is crashing, if you don't have your oxygen mask on, how are you going to help anyone else put theirs on? So to be the best givers that we can be, it has to start with you. You have to give to yourself first before you can possibly have all the energy that you want to give out and support others.
well, we have got Oh, which one shall we have? Shall we have this one? There we go.
Oh, I like
We
that
have
one.
got we have got something that the Jehovah's Witnesses don't have. We have the modern energy chart, and that is a guide for everybody. For it's a guide for me. It's as the president of the Guild of Energists. It's a guide for you as a practitioner. It's a guide for our members and for everyone. And we are not saying anything. We're not saying that you have to be at plus 10 all the time. That is so super important. I need to make a video about that. In Scientology, which is another cult, they have this thing called going clear, where they promise that when you go up the bridge to personal freedom, that you end up being at plus 10 all the time, that you live in a state of plus 10. And that is the big lie, the big misconception, the big craziness. Human beings go up and down this energy chart all the time. It's what it's about is to try your best to get back on the positive side and spend as little time as possible on the negative side. And then really Bob's your uncle, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
And
all we're asking, is having the will to have to be a better person. There you go. A better person. When we get stressed, the more stressed we are, the worse a person we become. We can't help it. It's structural, it's systemic. It's you, it's me, it's everybody else. There's no one who is exempt from that who is a human being. And if they say they are, if they say, oh, I'm so loving, I've forgiven everybody, I'm always in the light, they know that this person is just completely lying to you. And the first big toothache they get, they'll be right back with everyone else who gets stressed when there's pain or suffering or distress or somebody dies or something bad happens or your health is bad. You know, this isn't about being some extraordinary angel thing. We get to be that after we're dead. This is here about being human and doing the best we can. And I love that. And when you're on the positive side of the modern energy chart, then you have got some love to give to other people. And not before.
and
You
I think the love you're able to give is so much more elevated because you've experienced things on the other end of the Sue scale. It's you know our
it's
energy being is
proper life
so.
wisdom to understand
Yeah,
yourself as a
exactly.
person and not draw conclusions from when you're being highly stressed and you're spouting nonsense. Basically, we all start spouting nonsense and turn into a Karen if we get too stressed. Everybody does. And people have been so stressed these past. I mean, I was really worried about the state of people in 2014. We hadn't even had the panic pandemic then. So, how stressed are people now? Is it any wonder that people are angry and fighting and stupid and seem to be completely deluded as they're screaming abuse at each other? This is so, so sad. And there's nothing that describes saying that, oh, human beings are bad, or this group of human beings is bad, or this other group's bad. It's not like that. They're just super, super stressed.
And that is a good reminder that it's important that we love all aspects of ourselves as well, because we will
Totally.
all have lived in these negative states at some point.
Yep.
And so for me, a part of my healing journey was connecting with the aspect of me that made the decision to join this religion, for example. And when I first came out, I thought, oh, how could I ever have made that decision? How could I have gone so far? How
Because
did
the
I not
aspect
see
was
it?
very, very stressed.
Exactly. And I see that now. And now all my aspects are thoroughly loved and well and truly an important part of forming who I am today. But it, and I think that everything that I experienced on the positive end of the Sue scale is so elevated because of what I've experienced on the negative, and all the wisdom that has come from having the opportunity to transform those experiences into something positive has been unique learning that I'm grateful to, like, to go from a negative 10 to a plus 10 is incredible, you know.
Yes, it is. But I mean, there I need to say this is also these plus 10 states. They are moments.
Mm.
They're flashing moments, of real connectedness, real grace. It's not. It's sometimes it's an hour if you have a really massive one, it can last a day, but that's about it. That is about the absolute max you can be at plus 10 before you get back to sort of much more normal energy states. Nice normal energy state at the moment for human beings is around plus 5, where you'll have plus 3 is where you have the ideas, but you're on the couch with a glass of wine and you just can't enact them. You haven't got enough energy to do anything about it, which is a good state. Plus 3 is much, much better than minus 3. But in order to actually go out and do something, like you, for example, going out, starting your business, I can see behind you, you've got a whiteboard, you've got things going on in real reality. You've got real clients, real money, a real website. And all these things take work. And for that, you need to be at least at plus 5, right?
Mm.
That's a good place. I call that inspired action. It's one of my favorite places on the Zoo scale. It's when you get to work, when you wake up in the morning and you jump, you just, oh wow, I'm going to work on energy healing for animals today. Oh, I've got 2 more covers to do before the whole thing's done. Woo! Jumps out of bed. That's inspired action, and it's so much fun. And building a business, and oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. So listen to me blabbering on. We
No, it's all good.
you did the modern energy tapping practitioner pro
Yes,
this weekend, I hear.
just yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday just gone. Yeah, a few days ago. Yes, yeah, yeah,
How
still
was that?
fresh off the press. It was amazing, of course. It was really, really good. And what I've always loved about our practitioner training actually is the learning, but the opportunity to also do these things on yourself as
In
well
self
as
help, yeah, of course, of course.
yeah, is amazing, because then when you go out and you support clients, you have your own real experiences to ground that in.
Yeah.
It reaffirms for you that, hey, this stuff works. What do you know? you know.
What do you know?
And so that's, and also, as we all know, personal stories mean so much to people when you really can hear and literally see the transformation that somebody has been through, the change in the way they talk, the way they carry themselves. It means so much, and we're much more inclined to believe it if we're maybe not necessarily energetically inclined.
Well, it's only real when you can feel it. That's one of our we have these little slogans in modern energy, and this is one of them. It's only real when you feel it, when you really feel it. Feel that prickling going up your spine, or you feel that big sort of heavy weight on your chest just going away, and you breathe again. And that's what that means. It's real. The change is real, or the experience is real when you can really feel it in your body, because we can just hallucinate anything in the head. People hallucinate stuff. Don't you just love modern energy tapping not doing psychodrama anymore?
Yes, it is so
That is
beautifully
the
uplifting and positive in its focus.
coolest thing, isn't it? That we don't
Definitely.
have to do the psychodrama. Don't have to. Don't have to remember how it happened, when it happened, whose fault it was. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If we had like our own like 13-year-old aspect sitting here in front of us as clients, and they're like, I hate my hair, it's horrible, it's too straight, and I hate my hair, it's horrible, it's too frizzy. They're both sitting there, and we don't have to ask them, oh, when did you learn this? Where was the insult? Where have you been? Who said what to you to make you feel that way? And by the way, how's your relationship with your father? Um, we don't have to do that anymore. Hallelujah. We can just say to these girls, okay, guys, what would it take for you to feel better about your hair, your God given hair? What would it take? And Sylvia would say, oh, it'd take a fucking miracle.
Miracle it is.
That's what we're going to tapping on. Not just a miracle, we're going to tap on a fucking miracle. And then by the time we're done with that, everybody's laughing. And then we can ask again, and what else would you need? What else would you need?
I think what amazes me about the modern energy tapping as well is, or just modern energy work in general, is the way it so naturally enhances your energy mind's capabilities to communicate with you.
Yeah.
When you think about the words that come forward, I've never struggled to find a word, and the word is always the right word because it is so naturally gifted to me. It's like my energy mind is saying, yes, let's do this. I'm so ready to work with you. Let's clear
Oh,
whatever this is. Let me help you. Here's the word. Here's what you need, I've seen it in the way it communicates with me in terms of the visual imagery. Even if there's
yes.
something I'm struggling to understand, the way it creates a picture like, oh, you're finding it hard to understand here. This is kind of what it's like. Let's see if we can work with that. It feels like all of my systems working in such beautiful harmony, all with the same end goal of wanting to feel better. And I just think that's really
Right. And the other, I mean, if we can raise energy in people and they get a little bit energy higher, which they do naturally when we're tapping on positives, they all their faculties come online. And when we're working with a client, their own intelligence and their own insights and flashes come up because everything works better when we're energy higher. Everything does, including the communication with the dear energy mind. And that's just, and to this, it's just driving me still crazy that there's 8 billion people who've never seen a modern energy chart and have literally no idea that these high energy states exist. Not just that they've themselves inhabited them in the past. And here we, of course, come to Star Matrix, which is just such a beautiful thing. And I'm going to lay that Star Matrix thing to your heart for your clients. Do not let any client walk out of the office without starting their own book of stars. Because when it comes to trying to understand who you really are and finding a real kind of center in yourself, Star Matrix is the way. It is the way. Your proper star events. And yeah, I'm just going to say it, if you will allow me to say that. You spent 7 years in a cult. There were star events in that time. And by acknowledging the star events, the high +10 moments during these 7 years, acknowledging them, this isn't going to make you go back to the cult at all. But it'll kind of set you free from the whole thing. Because it's like you've extracted then the value from that journey, from that 7 year time span. You've taken the good stuff out. And as soon as you do that, the bad stuff just goes away. And then instead of having kind of a big gap in your timeline, or, like the idea that there was time wasted or that time was spent in the wilderness, and then blaming the aspects who made the decisions and all of that business, this is an awesome way of putting the past behind you. And not just putting it behind you as forgetting it, having those star events behind you. So that would be something that I would certainly recommend. Also for people who've been in, say, a relationship that turned abusive, or they were in a relationship and it was wonderful, and then the guy left or cheated or something, you know. And then what people tend to do is then they try to cut this whole piece out of their timeline and throw it away or don't want anything to do with it. But when you actually allow those star events to be remembered, then your timeline heals. And that's just a fascinating, fascinating thing, and something I'm personally super grateful for. I think that's a wonderful thing. Star Matrix is the most extraordinary thing. Every person should go home with a book of stars under their arms, or they can buy their own little notebook and start. That if that somebody had given us that when we were like, I don't know, 5 years old, I can't. We would have never had the hair thing, not the
Yeah.
hair thing, and so many other things. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's part of why, again, modern energy work is so powerful, because we have been so conditioned to focus on the negative things that have happened. And during the peak of my depression, I went to kind of typical talking therapy for a while and experienced just how trauma focused it really is.
Hmm.
um, and it's therefore easy to forget any star moment that had ever happened to you,
Yeah,
like, which I experienced even during my course recently, where we were thinking of guiding star moments, for example, to be able to then process them. And
yeah,
I'm like, well, I'll be damned if I can think of a single good thing that's ever happened in my life, which of course there's so many good things that have happened in my life, I know. But by being able to process and work with our energy mind and move into those states of intelligence and wisdom, all of those beautiful moments come back to you. All those things that have really formed the incredible person that you are today come back to
mm,
you, and you appreciate just how much they are a part of your journey.
yeah.
And
I
that's
mean,
beautiful to have those memories redelivered in a way, and put in their proper place.
reconnected. Yeah, and God Almighty. See, trauma only teaches us what not to do, what to avoid. It doesn't teach us what to do. Trauma just teaches us who we aren't. Likewise, it doesn't teach us who we are.
Mm. And I found, for me, a trauma centered approach. I remember very clearly my sessions, especially where we were kind of getting into some really nitty gritty stuff that had happened or that I'd felt. It really felt like I was kind of laying all my deep vulnerabilities out on the table. And then it's like, right, see you later then. you know, there was no, oh, let me just throw out everything that feels so incredibly raw and difficult to communicate that I can barely even get out through the tears of speaking them, and then I'll just bugger off home then and just leave those there, shall I? There
I,
was
I
no
saw
taking.
a, I saw a YouTube video of some woman saying why I quit therapy, and I clicked on it, so I had a look, and apparently she's having problem with depression and maintaining a good positive attitude. And one day, whilst looking into her diary, she realized that it was related to the fact that on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock she had a therapy session. And this depressed her so much that it basically took out all of Wednesday, the rest of the day, most of Thursday. Friday, she starts spooling up again a little bit. Weekend, feeling a bit better, taking the dog for a walk. Monday, doing some work. Tuesday, doing some work. But then comes Wednesday again. And the cycle repeats. And she was like, it's like having been in an abusive relationship for the last 4 years. So that's her story why she stopped. And I'm not telling anybody to stop therapy. If they love it, go for it. Go for it. And it's not very helpful to have something to go to. Just saying. There's Star Matrix is the way. If you and the more therapy you've done, the more you need to do Star Matrix now. Start your book of stars, get on with it. Free instructions on starmatrix.org. Don't have to buy a thing, don't have to join anything. Just start focusing on the positive experience, high positive experiences of your lifetime. It's the most amazing thing ever. And about 300 people know about it at this moment. So let us spread the word about the happy memories, the good memories, the star memories. All right, so from this moment forth, you do Instagram reels and things.
I do, I do. I very confidently show up now as the face of my business and do wacky things, so you don't have to, basically.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. I do wacky things too sometimes, but as I say, we need more young people in this because young people are super affected by this. They've been super affected by the pandemic. Some of them don't even know a different time when there wasn't all this social media insanity. and they don't really, this is an advantage that I have as an older person because I remember a time before, but they don't. So they're completely immersed in this cauldron of ah, problems with self-esteem, with looks, with identity, identity crises of one kind or the other. It's a real nightmare. So we do need lots more young people out there who can speak the words and show the pictures that they understand. And so I'm super, super pleased that you've come back to us and, you know, that you're doing
It
this
is
work.
good
I
to
think
be
it's
back.
wonderful.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It felt like my first course back, my MET intro course was, the very first exercise. I remember it very clearly, and the instant wisdom I got from it was welcome home. That's what I really, and it was beautiful.
Oh,
It was lovely. It was everything I needed to hear, because I'd felt like, my fear was, oh, what if I've lost this connection? I had so much beautiful flow with my energy system. What if I've lost that? What if I don't get it back? You know, all this blah 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 insecurities. And from that first exercise, this feeling of welcome home, and the reminder that you never let that go. You've always had that connection, and you
always
always
have.
will,
Of course,
more
of
than you
course.
even understand now. And I thought, well, all right, let's do this. Let's go.
Well, what we do in modern energy is just based on observation and basically on what works. It's not a religion, it's not anything like that. And every person that I've ever met has this, well, they had their plus 10 experiences, they had mystical experiences. Everybody has. Everybody has. People can't not have these somehow. People have them in prisons, in concentration camps, in war zones. It's and those experiences that people have had, if they remember them, with that comes the remembrance that they are a spiritual being, that they have an energy body, that they have the capacity to connect to this greater reality, and that they've already experienced that. Everybody, every biker, every activist, everybody has had these experiences. But we've constructed a world where people are moved away from remembering that and moved in the opposite direction to remember their trauma, focus on their trauma, make their identity out of trauma. It's appalling, isn't it, if we think about it?
It is. I feel sometimes that the intention is good behind it, in terms of wanting people to not, the idea is not to experience those again. You learn from that and you don't do it again. You learn what you don't want. But of course, that focusing on the negative and on the trauma just holds people in that trauma state, and reliving those moments, and just because that's what you're thinking about, and where attention goes, energy flows. So that is of course what you're going to attract. And so the idea behind it is well meaning, of wanting people to learn and not experience those things again. It's just not, it's just off piste a bit. As opposed to focusing on the positive, that's where you put your attention, and that is what you will attract.
Well, I have nothing against treating trauma with modern energy work at all, but it's got to be trauma that presents itself. So if somebody comes with PTSD flashbacks or constant nightmares about the same situation, about the personnel carrier blowing up in Iraq, yes, treat the trauma. But if you don't have that, then don't go digging for anything, because as soon as you ask the question, you know, okay, so this hair thing, well, what traumatic memories are related to the hair thing? Let's make a list. So this is Aunt Ellen said that to you when you were 3 years old at your sister's birthday party. We talk about that for a week, and then But you still don't like your hair. Oh, that hasn't cured it. Talking about what Aunt Ellen said hasn't cured it. How curious. Oh, we must have gotten the wrong trauma.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that way, you can run your psychiatric or psychology practice for 50 years because we're not actually dealing with a bucket, we're dealing with a generator. The dear energy mind will give you endless trauma forever. I learned that when people were doing negative tapping back in the day. I had a person that was tapping every day on the answers that would arise to what's wrong with me.
Mm,
And let's just try and work that out. 2003, 1998. That's 5 years. 5 years every day they asked the question, "What's wrong with me?" And never ran out of answers to tap on. Not cool.
no, sad, very sad. And I know, had
Well,
I continued with my talking therapy, I I can't say 100% what would have happened, but I was certainly, by the time I left, nowhere near having reached a turning point in my mental health, versus no sooner did I return to my energy roots than not only did it elevate my mental health, but it's like what we say, it transforms things into, so that the original problem is so far out of sight, it doesn't exist anymore, you know. And so that's why I'm so you know, people often say to me, "Oh, you're so brave," you know, talking about your depression, talking about your mental health, talking about life in a cult, you know. And I think it's not me, you know, that is not me today. So I'll talk about it till the cows come home, because I don't feel there's
I
nothing unprocessed about it, you know.
think no, and I think the aspects model is great. We go through time, our aspects go up and down on the energy chart, and one day, and this really just explains why one day you can be a great parent and the next day you can be a shitty parent. It's simply a matter of stress, for God's sake. It's not like we have multiple personality disorder with the horrible part over there that screams at people and the nice part with the angel wings over there that blesses people. That's all just crazy. With one person going through life, going up and down with our energy states, and no, you know, and this alleviates so much confusion, so much craziness, so much internal weirdness, simply by being able to say, yeah, sure, I made a terrible decision back in 1978 on the 19th of November. My aspect certainly did, but she was really stressed. There was no one there to help her. She definitely didn't have a modern energy chart. There was no one. The tapping hadn't been invented yet for 28 years. EMO has still got 30 years to go before it gets invented, and Star Matrix nobody had ever heard of. So, am I supposed to hate on that aspect? No. And I can
Because
talk
then,
about what she did is human.
you know, by cutting them out of your life, or hating on them, or not thinking of them, you don't allow yourself to ever move on from that and receive the learning that your energy mind needed to nourish itself. And so, unsurprisingly, people find themselves in repeating patterns. I certainly know that's been a, you know, this idea of control has been a repeating pattern in my life several times, until I finally got the lesson and embraced it. But
I'll
otherwise,
talk to you about that in 20 years. I will be talking to you in the spirit world, and we'll be laughing at this. Yeah, I think there's still many, many lessons outstanding to be learning. But I think
Right.
if we go towards the whole thing with a will to more energy, and for me, that is a will towards more love, and not so much receiving love from others, but for me to learn how to love.
Mm.
That's really kind of my grand work, if you will, of in personal development. I don't want to be hating on people and get triggered all the time. And, I want to be able to love more, to learn how to do that. And I swear to God, must be like playing the violin or something. If you never ever practice it, then you just never gonna. produce anything better than a scratchy. You know, but it's practice, learning to love your aspects, being able to love them, not forgive them necessarily for anything, but to love them, appreciate them, to be able to say, yeah, that's my aspect. Yeah, I feel
And that
compassion.
takes our power back. That's the thing. By, rather than giving your power out to other people,
Yes,
I give you the power to make me happy. I give you the power to make me laugh. I give you the power to teach me. I give you the power to empower me. All of that comes back to us
yes,
because we can do that for ourselves. You
yeah,
know, there's plenty of joyful experiences to be had with friends and family and pets and all of the other wonderful things in life.
yeah,
But the best source of everything is ourselves.
yeah. There's definitely a place to start, and it's, I mean, this thing with one, self-help, two, practitioner. When you are getting to a point where you've done your self-help and now you want to help one other person. And then the third one is trainer, where you want to be working not just with one other person, but with a group. And that's sort of an unfoldment, but it starts with self-help, with that, you know, and before self-help comes getting somebody else to help you. So that's not a sign of weakness. It's the beginning point of a journey to work with somebody like Hannah here and do something positive for your self esteem, for your self empowerment, something loving. Modern energy is loving in its structures, in the way it deals with everything. We're just trying to put more love into the systems, which is, yeah, well, no.
How dare we? Oh my gosh, yeah. So why is that so controversial? It baffles me, but
It's completely heretical. It's a revolution. It's a paradigm shift. Like you
mm,
were saying earlier, I was thinking that the problems of the past, like, oh my God, my hair is flat. The problems of the past aren't solved, they become completely irrelevant.
mm,
And that's the sign of a paradigm shift. And I believe modern energy is a paradigm shift because we're going from a five sense model of the world to the six sense model of the world, which includes emotions. That's our additional 16.7% information, which we need to connect the dots of our own lives and make meaning, proper meanings of our lives and of people and understand them better.
mm.
Every bloody prophet's ever said that love's the answer. There isn't one that hasn't. I,
And recognizing, we were, you know, whatever you believe, the divine, God, source created us is infinitely intelligent in its creation of us. And we were given a spectrum of emotions for a reason.
well,
You know,
yeah,
if
to
we didn't need
inform
them,
us
they
of the
wouldn't
things.
exist.
We have our emotions to inform us of the things that we can't see, hear, touch, sense, or taste. That's what they're for, to tell us of the energetic realities in our environments and in our own bodies. That's what it's for, you know. It's insane. It's absolutely, it's a survival sense. Like all the other senses are survival senses. And so is our emotions. And they're meant to tell us when there's somebody lurking behind a bush, which we can't see or hear or scent or taste or touch. But we need to know they're there to keep us safe. And that's what and we get this weird prickling sensation flowing through our bodies and goes up the shiver. And you're going, uh-oh, and you're turning around because there's somebody creeping around behind that bush. Sixth sense. Real true sixth sense. God, I could talk about all these things with you for hours and hours and hours. But I am so super thrilled that you're here helping people, helping also younger people. And I'm hoping you are going to become a fabulous Instagram star. I will sprinkle stardust upon you
Thank
to
you.
really, make use of the modern technology and reach people and tell them that they're not forsaken, that they they are loved, they are human beings, and they're essentially wonderful. They're a wonderful creation, and they can be happier more often
Mm,
and less often distressed and less deeply distressed with a little bit of modern energy knowledge. We don't
that's a
offer,
lot.
enlightenment or anything like that, but we offer something that's practical to make our lives happier.
I
I
think to
would,
me, what I'd like to see is that, when we're thirsty, we don't think, oh, that's interesting, and then leave it. We think, I'm thirsty. I
have a
recognize
good
I have a
yes.
need. I go and fill that need by getting a glass of water. I drink. The original problem ceases to exist because I'm no longer thirsty. That is so natural that we don't think about it. We don't think, am I worth the time and investment in it? We don't think, I don't have time for that. We just do. And likewise, when we get emotional feedback, rather than think, no, no, I haven't got time to deal with that. Oh, I'm not worth your time and attention. Oh, no, I'm too busy. Oh, that's interesting. Go and get the glass of water. Go
Yeah,
and fill that need as naturally as you do any of your other bodily functions.
so true, man. That is so true. Absolutely, yes, 100%. Um, Hannah, I will give you the last word before we go. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I think we will do this again on other and interesting topics. Um, I think anybody who would like to work on their self esteem, self love, self concept, Hannah would be a wonderful person to talk to because she's not one of those shallow, only fan girls who hasn't lived, but she has, and she's bringing a lifetime's experience of working with energy and understanding energy and how energy and the absence of energy, the love and the absence of love affects us on our journey. So, yeah, please give us a blessing and send us off.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia, for having me. I think if I can leave everybody with one thing, it is just to know that you are so important. You play such a precious role in this planet, and it would not be the same place without you.
Mm.
So know that you are loved, and that there is so much to love about you.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and your being share with us. I will leave links to how to contact Hannah in the comments. And with that, thank you so much and farewell, everyone. And we'll see you in the next video. Lots of love.